In 2006, the US shredded every single F-14 Tomcat in its inventory down to the last bolt. They didn't just retire it, they made sure no one could ever fly it again. The reason? Iran. Because right now, somehow Iran is still flying the F-14, a jet the US retired nearly 2 decades ago. And they're not just flying it, they're upgrading it, arming it and using it to patrol the skies, despite crippling sanctions and a complete shutdown of spare parts. So how is this even possible? Think about it, the F-14 is a complex, high-maintenance fighter jet. Even the US Navy struggled to keep it flying. But Iran? They've been cut off from American support since 1979. No spare parts, no official maintenance manuals, and no factory support. Against all odds, Iran's F-14s still take to the skies, held together by ingenuity, desperation, and a touch of espionage. The real story? It's part engineering genius, part espionage, and part black market smuggling. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how Iran has kept its Tomcats alive and why the US is still so worried about them today. In the 1970s, Iran was on the rise. Oil money was pouring in, the economy was booming, and it had a powerful ally, the United States. And that alliance came with perks. Big ones. Iran didn't just buy military equipment, it got access to some of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, including this, the F-14 Tomcat. A jet so advanced it could track and destroy enemy aircraft before they even knew it was there. Iran had a choice, the F-15 Eagle or the F-14 Tomcat. And the Shah? He was more impressed by the Tomcat's variable geometry wings and AIM-54 Phoenix missiles. So he placed an order, 79 F-14s, 284 Phoenix missiles, and just like that, Iran had one of the most advanced air forces in the region. But then, everything changed. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 flipped the country upside down. The Shah was overthrown, the new government turned against the West. The US? They cut Iran off completely, slamming the door on military support, spare parts, and weapons. By all logic, Iran's fleet of F-14 Tomcats should have been grounded decades ago. And yet, somehow, against all odds, they're still flying. Just 1 year after the revolution, war erupted. Iraq invaded Iran, and suddenly keeping the F-14s flying wasn't just important, it was survival. And Iran had no choice, it had to keep the F-14s flying, even under sanctions, even without US support, and somehow they did. They used every Phoenix missile they had, scoring air victories and defending Iranian airspace. But when they started to run out, they got creative. Iranian engineers found ways to fit Soviet-made missiles onto the Tomcat, weapons never designed to work with the jet. And despite the odds, Iran's F-14s were still taking down enemy aircraft, MiG-25s, Mirage F-1s, confirmed kills. Both sides exaggerated their kill counts, but one thing was clear, the F-14 was Iran's most valuable weapon in the skies. And somehow, decades later, despite all the sanctions from the US, it still is. Keeping the F-14 Tomcat flying for nearly half a century without US support should have been impossible. And yet Iran made it happen through a combination of reverse engineering, smuggling, cannibalization, and bold improvisation. After the Iranian Revolution and cutting ties with the United States, Iran had around 40 to 50 airframes, but not all are operational. Many grounded F-14 Tomcats are used as parts donors to keep others flying. Parts like high-wear components, landing gear and actuators are salvaged from the ground fleet. As for the other components, from the 80s till the 2000s, Iranian agents were caught smuggling F-14 parts from US surplus military stockpiles. Some of the components even being obtained by third-party countries using front companies to bypass the sanctions. This was for the already existing components, but as for other systems like the avionics, hydraulic systems and structural components, they reverse-engineered all those components to produce them domestically. They went so far that they even managed to remanufacture the engines and radars to keep the aircraft functional, and those are considered some of the most complicated parts of the aircraft. The TF-30 engines and variable geometry wing system were completely overhauled and kept operational. There are rumors that Iranian F-14s have their wings fixed in fully open position because of the complexity of the system, but the aircraft was seen flying with the wings fully swept back. The airframes are meticulously maintained, with regular structural reinforcement and corrosion control. When it comes to maintaining and flying such a complex aircraft, Iran showed experience, ingenuity, and improvisation. Over decades, Iran has trained a workforce capable of servicing and even modifying the F-14 Tomcat without external support. But despite that, some analysts believe that Iran has technical cooperation with Russia, North Korea, or China for obtaining guidance on keeping older aircraft flying. Those were the steps to keeping the aircraft flying, but they also went further, modernizing the fleet with domestically produced components and also integrating existing ones from other aircrafts. Iran has integrated locally developed avionics, radars, and weapons systems to replace the aging US tech. It was equipped with new radar upgrades and missile integration to allow the F-14 Tomcat to fire modern Iranian Fakhur 90 missiles. That is a reverse-engineered AIM-54 Phoenix. It has even received new electronic warfare system and data links for better communication. Some of the modern upgrades include even experimenting with integrating Russian and Chinese avionics in the F-14 Tomcat. Some of those modifications include borrowing parts from MiG-29s and Su-24s to extend the F-14's service life. The aircraft has undergone lots and lots of modifications, but still, despite that, Iran limits the F-14 flight hours to only essential operations like air defense and strategic missions in order to extend the airframe life. Yet the most surprising adaptation might be the F-14's evolving role in drone warfare. Reports suggest Iran has experimented with using the F-14 as a command and control platform for drones, possibly even exploring AI-assisted upgrades. A 1970s fighter jet coordinating unmanned aircraft? That's something no one expected. Against all odds, Iran has not only kept the F-14 flying, but continuously evolved it. Through sheer ingenuity, resourcefulness, and determination, they have defied the limits of technology, time, and sanctions. And that might be the most impressive part of all. The F-14 Tomcat is more than just a fighter jet, it's an icon. It became a symbol of American air superiority, starring in dogfights, daring missions, and even Hollywood blockbusters. But what makes its legacy truly unique is that the F-14's story didn't end when the US retired it. It lived on in the hands of an unexpected operator. On opposite sides of history, the F-14 fought for both the United States and one of its biggest adversaries. In the US Navy, it dominated the skies, proving itself in countless missions. And in Iran, cut off from American support, it still played a critical role in securing airspace. During the Iran-Iraq War, the F-14 was more than just a fighter. It was a lifeline. Facing waves of enemy aircraft, Iran's Tomcats intercepted, engaged, and even took down some of the most advanced jets of the time. And they did it without access to US maintenance, without spare parts, and against all odds. The F-14s should be a museum piece. Instead, it's still patrolling Iranian skies, an undead relic of a war that ended decades ago. How many are still truly combat ready? That's debated. But one thing is certain, this aircraft built for the Cold War refused to be left in the past. Its story is one of power, ingenuity, and survival. And that might be its greatest legacy. The F-14 Tomcat was never meant to last this long. It was supposed to be retired, replaced, left behind as a relic of the Cold War. And yet it's still flying, not in American hands, but in Iran's. Decades after being cut off from US support, with no spare parts, no factory maintenance, and every possible obstacle in its way, Iran's F-14s are still patrolling the skies. But what does that actually mean? On the surface, it's a story of determination, adaptation, and ingenuity. Iran found a way to keep an aircraft alive that even the US struggled to maintain. But at its core, it's also a cautionary tale. A reminder that technology doesn't just disappear when its creators say it should. That an aircraft designed for one war can outlive its original mission, its operators, even its era, and still remain a threat. So what happens next? Will Iran's F-14s finally fade into history, or will they keep evolving, becoming something no one, not even the engineers who built them, could have predicted? One thing is certain, the story of the F-14 Tomcat isn't over. Not yet. Until next time, fly high and stay curious.